Welcome to Rising Tides, the business podcast where we explore how business professionals across industries make waves and rise above the competition. Join host Angela Merza and myself, Kim Hayden, as we talk to inspiring business leaders from entrepreneurs to executives about the strategies and tactics they use to build their successful brands. From their failures to their successes, you'll get an inside look as to what it takes to make it in the business world today. Together, let's discover the power of collaboration and how raising each other up can help us all reach the heights of success. So dive in and join the conversation. All right, Angela, how are you doing?
Hey.
Okay, I apologize, folks. We are running a few minutes behind, but boy, you're Angela, you've been doing park duty with your kid. I think that's something all of us women are facing right now, or men, women, those with school-age children. Welcome to summer. I wish I had I got to get sound effects. You know what, Angela? I'm super excited about the next conversation. Okay, what have I been talking about? What have I been working on? What have I been doing over the last year to build so I can do this? And folks, I will tell you, this is super exciting. Sam, I'm going to butcher the last name, Laliberte, and I hope I said that right. Liberté. Oh, it's French. Okay, so Kansan. Okay, work with me, folks.
Here we go again.
I speak fluent hillbilly, folks. Work with me. Okay, Sam Laliberte, a digital nomad, bing, 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 digital nomad, a serial entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, and a freedom seeker, helps unlock people's potential to design their own liberated lifestyle. Freedom over your location, schedule, and finances. Over the last 5 years, she has built a multi-six-figure freelance business while working from dozens of countries. And just so you know, FYI, there is 54 countries now globally offering digital nomad visas. So let's all find out where Sam's calling. Yes. I looked this up because I'm making my list, Sam, and you're going to tell me how I'm going to do this. I'm missing something because I'm still sitting in Calgary. All right. She's worked in dozens of countries around the world and less than 30 hours a week. So listen up, folks. Let's bring Sam in. I'm super excited. Welcome, Sam. Bing, bing,
bing, bing. Hi, Sam.
What an intro. Thanks for having me.
First thing first, where are you calling from? Where are you at right now today?
Today I'm in Canada. I'm in Squamish, BC. There's like a 2-month window in Canada where it's summer. It's the best time to be here. So even though I can work from anywhere, I'm always here in these couple of months.
Amazing.
Come on, Sam. We got four. As long as you don't go out night without a parka. It gets pretty cold.
We don't have summer. We just have construction season.
Yes. Winter and construction in Canada. I'm with you on that.
Winter, second winter, and construction.
So this winter, where did you go?
This past winter, well, the last 4 years, I've started my year in Costa Rica. So I rent the same Airbnb, same town. I bike there. It's a whole vibe. I have friends that are there all year who I catch up with when I go back. So always start with Costa Rica. And then I do a lot of travel for work. So after that, I did Kenya, South Africa, Austria, had a wedding in Italy, and now I'm home for the summer.
Okay. How big is your bag? Because
it's big.
I'm going with you, man. I'm going with you. You may be naked wherever we go, but I'm going to get in that bag. I'm going to start stretching now. I'm going to figure out how to
I do not travel light. Yeah. I can't. And yeah. All those outfits. And if you're going somewhere hot and cold and activities, too many things.
Yeah. That's why closets are really big in Canada. Because you never know. You got to dress for all 4 seasons in a day.
And sometimes in one day, you dress for all 4 seasons right here.
Absolutely.
You know it.
Absolutely. All righty. You know what we're doing here is I just want to get one little insight. What makes you and your services unique? And then we're going to turn this over because Angela's a serious one. She's going to get the meat and potatoes that are going to help our audience actually learn stuff. I'm here to entertain, folks. I'm here to entertain. What makes you unique? Why?
I think what's unique about my approach is a lot of the content, at least when I identified that I was a freedom seeker, I wanted to work online, I wanted to work from anywhere. I felt like they were really guided towards one type of person, an entrepreneurial person who starting their own business, creating their own product, bringing it into the market, taking that risk, putting themselves out there felt very naturally for them. And for a long time, that was the only type of person that this lifestyle was available to. But now that remote work has really become mainstream, freelance has lost the stigma, and it's actually a very empowering term. A lot of different ways that you can have what I call the freedom lifestyle. So, what I think is unique about me is I really help people identify which path to freedom are they going to choose and making sure that they're not forcing them to still be someone that they're not. And they can still have that freedom lifestyle in different ways now.
Awesome. Okay.
Amazing.
So in 6 months, when the snow's really flying, I'm out of here. Angela, take it away. I need to learn. I've got my pen and paper. I hope everybody has their pen and paper. We are going to learn today because Kim's getting a plane ticket up here in January, folks. Okay, I'm learning. I'm learning.
How much
Listen
time
and
do we
learn.
have? Let's go.
Yeah. So let's learn a bit about this. So how can someone get started? Like what's holding people back from doing this? Like I've always thought about doing this. I'm not a single person anymore. I have a family. We're talking about, what I'm doing with my kid these days for summer break. It's kind of all over the place. And so trying to work and trying to organize everything and organize kids' activities and all that. It's a lot. So what holds people back? What are the kind of things that you see? Like, oh, I wish I could do this, but.
Well, mindset is such a big piece, right? I can teach you all the tactics, all the skills, how to build revenue channels, all of that type of stuff. But if you don't even believe it's possible for you first, it doesn't even matter. And we all know that. And so I think the first thing is really adopting a mindset of something around the lines of like all problems are solvable. So any of these challenges that come up for you, well, I have a house, or what about all my items, or what about my car, or what about my cat who's totally crashing this interview, who was kind of a nomad herself, honestly. I also had all of these barriers that I thought would prevent me from living this lifestyle. But one day I just decided I'm just going to figure out how to make it work. And sure enough, there's a solution for everything. There's websites where I can pay to have her in someone else's house. I Airbnb my own home. There's even a service that lets you rent out your car. So, a lot of these challenges that make people feel like they're really fixed to one location can be solvable. And it's only getting easier and easier because anytime there's a movement, all of these products and commercialization and starts to come into the market and helps it make it even easier for us. So, you mentioned families. There's now programs for digital nomad families where they can all travel around the world together and hop in and out and have their kids still go to school and still have structure. So it's only getting easier.
Oh, good to know. Yeah. And do you find that since, everyone was working from home the last 3 years, do you kind of find that there's been an influx of this in the last 2, 3 years? This kind of lifestyle?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
in terms of it being just more readily available, like I remember when I decided to go out on my own, I think it was in 2017. And when I was negotiating contracts with employers, it was still a bit of a sticking point of, well,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be coming into your office and I'm not going to be doing this work on site, but trust me, I'm really good at what I do and I'm going to do it from anywhere. And if you just tell me what my tasks are and give me a shot, I don't have to be in the office. And it was still something I was negotiating. Now, a lot of the time, it's just the defaults. It's it's not even something that you really have to forcefully have a conversation around. So I would say that's the biggest thing I've noticed
Mm.
is this normalization of people working from home, working from anywhere. But I did notice when we were forced to work from home, there was a lot of challenges with that because we weren't set up for it, right? We were working
Right.
from our beds and we were working with our partners in the same room as us and our kids at home, and it was very distracting and disruptive, and it was hard for people to see the power of it. And so I always say, like, it's really not about working from home, it's about working from anywhere. And
Anywhere.
that is
Mhm.
something that I've really leaned into.
Yeah, that was hard. I remember I had a kid in daycare at that time. So, oh, what a cute kitty. He looks so
She's here for
exotic.
she's here for the convo.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, I remember other folks, when they were forced to work from home and their kids were learning online, and it was like, I don't know how they did it. Like, honestly, I would have gone nuts, but good to know that there are tools now for that. And like, yeah, I remember starting my business back in 2008 as a freelancer, and I was kind of laughed at a little bit by some colleagues because they're like, "You're never gonna get any clients. You don't have an office, right? You work from wherever, like, you work from your house, you work from a coffee shop. How are you gonna get clients? How are they gonna take you seriously?" It's like, what does an office have to do with it? What does the location have to do with it if I output great work and I can do it, right? It's about the results and the outputs, right?
It's
So
these
it's not about
old
where you are.
Yeah, it's these
Yeah.
old preconceived notions, even the like, well, where's your business card or where's your website? I'm 7 years in and I still don't have like one website that showcases, my freelance services in that sense because I'm really doing a bunch of different things and that plays into my desire for variety and wanting to work on a number of projects at once. And what I also say to people is people create opportunities for people that they like. And so, another
Yeah.
thing I would say is your first step is do an audit of your network. Who are people that like you? Who are people that have some type of authority in a company? They either run a company or they're a leader in a company that you can reach out to and just open that conversation about you working for them in a flexible arrangement. People literally create opportunities for
Mm.
people that they have fondness towards and affinity towards.
Yeah, they totally do. We wanna help each other out, right? So
Hmm.
so in thinking about this, like you're a freelancer, I'm a freelancer. Who is this kind of lifestyle right for? Is it just the freelance community? What about someone who's an employee who's thinking of doing this? Who is this the right fit for?
Yeah, so the freedom lifestyle to me is having freedom over your location. So you can do the work from anywhere. Schedule, you can kind of set up your days however you want. If I'm in Costa Rica and the surf's up, I want to have the ability to get all my work done in the morning and go surfing in that window. And then financial freedom. So I don't want to be capped at how much money I could make. And ideally, I don't want to always be trading my time for money. So that is like the trifecta, the freedom trifecta that I kind of call the freedom lifestyle. And I see the three paths towards that. So you and I, freelancers, we've identified our service. We're bringing it into the market. We likely enjoy building relationships. We likely are more extroverted. We enjoy working with people, but we also kind of want to have control over who we work with, what types of projects we work with, and have that variety in our lives. So that is who that path is really good for. Somebody who maybe says, I would identify a little bit more as an introvert. I'm more analytical. I really like data. I really like looking at numbers and testing things. You might be better going into the market with a digital product, like a course,
Mm.
like an ebook, like some type of passive income product, trading in the exchange market, Amazon fulfillment. I don't know, something where you're more independently working on your own, playing with the numbers, testing things, experimenting.
Mm.
And then the third option is a remote worker. And that's what my husband does. He's a leader at a tech company that's fully remote, and he loves it because he's got that security, he's got that stability. Every month he gets paid, he's got that commitment, and he gets to work with a team where he really feels like he can, make an impact and grow with one company. And so, that's great for someone who sees work as an opportunity to have stability, but also maybe like a big part of their social life and their sense of meaning. So, maybe you just have one employer who offers you flexible work. And so, work from anywhere and ideally asynchronous, which means it's not so focused on meetings. So those are the three paths
Mm.
and how I kind of think of which one could be for you.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even think of like the passive income route or the digital product route. It's not about trading time for money necessarily, which we all want to get away from, nomad or not, right?
Yes.
And it's about the value we create for people. But yeah, those are interesting ideas. So, um, understanding that like there are different types of people, the introvert, the extrovert. Mostly what we're focused on here is, something we can do online, right? Some kind of work we're doing online. Would you say that's a common tie in these types of work scenarios?
Yeah, location independence, but also schedule freedom and financial freedom. And the reason why I think schedule freedom is so important is because when we saw the shift towards remote work. There's a lot of companies who said, okay, yes, you can work from home or you can work online, but I'm going to install like a time tracking device in your computer.
Mm,
And you're still going to have 6 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours every single week that you have to be there. And that to me didn't feel like full freedom. That to me didn't feel like
right.
if I had a spontaneous opportunity I wanted to say yes to, I couldn't. And so that's why it's also important to understand what is a flexible work arrangement and really negotiating that when you're taking on projects.
Mm, right. Okay. So knowing all that, yes, we all want that trifecta of freedom, right?
Yes.
Um, maybe we have a skill set that, we already are using in some way in our career. We want to get started with this nomadic lifestyle. Can you give us some steps that we can take? Maybe 2 or 3 or 4 steps. Like what does that look like? So I'm, working for myself, or I have a skill set. I'm working for an employer. How do I then go from that scenario where I'm tied down with a house and, I've got a kid maybe, and um yeah, I wanna be able to work from anywhere. Maybe it's a different time. It's gonna probably be a different time zone. That might be an issue. How do we start organizing that in our head and making a plan to go from
Hmm.
here to there?
What I'm seeing a lot of people doing is kind of doing trial runs. And
Mm,
so testing it and not saying, I'm not like selling my house and selling all of my items and committing to this nomadic thing full time, but I want to try it. And so often it's okay, this is the destination, this is the length of time, this is the period where I'm going to give this a go. And often when you go to an employer with, hey, this is a trial run or it's just temporary, they're much more likely to
yeah,
say yes to support you in this. And then once you do it and you crush all your work goals and you prove to them what you know is true, which I can do it from anywhere, give me a shot, they're going to be much more likely when you come back and say, okay, I loved it. I want to keep doing it. How badly do you want to keep me? So I would say it's very overwhelming if you think this is forever with anything. So give it a clear start and end date to try it. And then you work through, okay, so I want to go to Bali and I want to go in November and I want to go for a full month and I want to bring my entire family. Okay, well, what are the things that I think I need to overcome? I'm going to
mm,
have to pay rent in both places. Am I willing to Airbnb my house? Okay, well, let's get started on that process. Maybe I'm not willing to Airbnb my house. Okay, how can I financially make both things work? Right. And just step by step solving that. Okay, well, my kids are going to be out of school for a month. What do I want to do? Do I want to put them in something online? Do I want to ask their teacher, can I have the curriculum for the month and they'll do homeschooling? You just have to make your list of your challenges and just start going through them one by one by one. If we see them all, they just start compounding as all the reasons it won't work. And you really want to focus on what can go right. Every time you start finding yourself thinking about, like, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? Start thinking, but what if this happens? What if we go to Bali and every day we're eating fresh fruit and our
wow.
family is going to amazing restaurants and we're going to temples and we're having this cultural experience and you're going to Canggu, which is close to Bali, and you're surfing one day. Like, start to really dream up, because that vision and that excitement for what's possible, you need that to overcome inevitable fears that it's natural for your brain to prevent you from a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. That vision is what keeps you going in everything you're doing in life
Mhm.
and business and this. I love the idea of the trial run though. I hadn't thought of that before, like, just, don't, like, give up everything you have and, sell everything you own right away. Just, there's things you can do, Airbnb, rent it out, something, your house, and just try it, make a small sampler size of a plan and go for it. It's funny that I'm talking to you right now about these things because a neighbor here, they told me about a place in Greece that will actually pay you to live there. It's
Mm.
on Patmos Island. Yeah, maybe you wanna note this down. On Patmos Island, a little town, like, very little, like, literally there are 70 people that live there, I think. That's
Wow.
it, and it's called Antikythera in Greece, and I was like, so my husband's an electrician, and he gets laid off fairly often. It's just part of the industry, right? So I said to him the other day, I said, You know what? If you get laid off again sometime soon, we should make a plan to go live there just like for a little while. They'll pay for you to live there actually for 2 or 3 years, I think.
Wow.
And yeah, I said, "Yeah, maybe we can." So this was already kind of a little seed in my mind that maybe we can rent this place out and just kind of go live there for a couple years and try it, right? And it'd be like almost risk free because they're paying for you to go there to live there for a
Hmm.
while.
I
Interesting,
love
huh?
that. Totally.
Yeah.
And like seeing these setbacks as an opportunity. I think that is
Right.
very important in the economic climate that we're in. I've started to have my own friends starting to get layoff. We hear it every single day in the news, these companies making these big layoffs. Well, some of the best companies are started during these downturns when people are like, hey, I just got 4 months
Yeah.
to get basically severance and I'm getting paid to do nothing. Well, how can you see this as an opportunity? And if I'm being totally honest, that's kind of how my journey started. I wish
Yeah.
I could say I one day just finally got fed up and quit my 9 to 5. I got a little bit screwed over. I was trying to move to the US to be with my partner. We were long distance. I had quit my job for another company. I was so excited. I was ready to move. And in the last minute, they pulled the offer because of the visa. And I found myself unexpectedly unemployed and had this desire to be with my partner in San Francisco, but my place was in Toronto. And that is how I started becoming a location independent freelancer out of just necessity of, oh crap, well, how can I get paid this month? Worked my network, got my first gig, went to San Francisco, did it from there, and was like, maybe I don't need to fully commit to San Francisco. Maybe I can, do freelance and be in San Francisco and still be in Toronto with my friends and have much more flexibility. And so, sometimes it starts with these setbacks or these unexpected challenges
Yeah.
and you use them as opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Welcome back, Kim.
Mhm.
I
So
Welcome
I've been
back.
like writing everything down, and actually, like now the
Mhm.
head is spinning on what are the challenges, right? Get out of Dodge in January. So sorry, well, I'm not in Dodge. I'm in Calgary, folks, but Dodge would be just as bad because nobody wants to live in Dodge. That's in Kansas, and I'm from Kansas. I've been there. I've done that. I got the T-shirt. Keep going, Angela. I'm
I was
learning.
gonna I was gonna ask, so, people like my husband, his job is very, like, location dependent. It's physical. It's like, it's here, it's now, he can't do electrician work remotely. What does someone like that do? Any suggestions for someone like that?
It is a common challenge of one person in the relationship having
Yeah.
more freedom than the other. And it's how my relationship started. My partner was with a company that had unlimited vacation, and I was working with a company that had, 2 weeks minimum. And, I kind of needed to spend that seeing my family over Christmas and then, who knows what. So it's definitely a real problem. I think helping your partner see a way that they can make it work in their situation. So often in these trades roles, like you've mentioned, they can be quite seasonal. Period where things are super busy for them and a period
Mm.
where things are less busy. Is that an option for us? Can we say, hey babe, just this period where I know you get a lot of business, I don't even like work as much as you can, do as much as you can during that period. Let's not worry about balance. And then, when that
Mhm.
season is over, can we completely clear your schedule and do something like this? This is truly one option. For a lot of couples, I'm seeing where someone's a business owner, we're actually seeing them really, how do I generate so much revenue in my business that maybe my partner who doesn't have freedom can quit their job? I'm actually seeing
Yeah.
that come up a lot of the times. And so that's very interesting. I think that it's just about figuring out how it's going to work for you and every single and we talked about Airbnb, and I know for some people that might feel like a barrier of, well, I don't want people in my places. And you mentioned places that'll let you stay there and they'll pay you. There's websites that'll allow you to stay in their house for free. Like one is Trusted House Sitters. And if you're willing to, walk their dog or water a plant or two, there's some beautiful homes around the world that are like, I just don't want my house vacant for a couple
Right.
months from a security perspective and my beautiful plants. They'll allow you to stay in their house for free. So there's so many solutions to make this work. It's just about deciding that this is what you want and working together as a family to go after it.
Interesting. I didn't know that. And are those sometimes long term? rentals,
Mm-hmm.
the trusted house sitters. Oh, amazing.
Yeah, you wrote that down too, didn't you, Angela?
Oh, yeah, I
Yeah,
totally did.
I did. I did. Dream up, make a plan,
The
make a
the
plan.
wheels are turning. The wheels are turning.
Yeah, I use
What
trusted
about
house sitters because, like, a barrier for
yeah.
me, for example, is in my home, you're only allowed to rent out your house for 1 month minimum. So it has to be
Mm,
long-term rentals. But sometimes I go away only for a week or two. And so I'm not legally allowed to rent out my house. So in those cases, I'm willing to
gotcha.
forego the revenue, but then have someone stay in my house for free to take care of my cat, to water my plants, things like that. So perfect example of, okay, well, how can I still make this work? I can't do Airbnb for X, Y, and Z. Well, can you do this? Right? And it's just not getting stuck at the first challenge, which I see a lot of people doing that.
Mm,
I
true.
do want
So
to put a PSA in here. It's
yeah.
okay to leave your cat behind, but not your kids. Just letting you know. We're not allowed to we're not allowed to have house sitters come in and
Hey, can you just
feed and
like
water
feed
the
my kids
kids.
once a day and water them and yeah.
I know. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. And that actually went
Uh,
through my head going, okay.
yes, yes, folks, don't do that. What about trying to bust some other things up here for people? So how should you have a contingency plan? Like, what if something goes wrong? What if that place that you were going to stay at, they cancel the contract, or it's a dive when you get there, or how much do you have to consider Plan B when doing this kind of thing?
Especially for the introvert linear thinker like Angela.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
what is plan B? How do you set that up? I like that. That's a good one.
yeah.
I love my quotes. I love my mantras. So one that I think of coming up from there, I don't know it perfectly, but I think it's like any ordeal can become an adventure with the right attitude, right? And so just seeing it as like, okay, this isn't the plan, but we're going to solve for this. And it happened to me. So an example is I rented a place for a month in Costa Rica, one of the times I'd went the first time I had gone, and they said they had great internet. And I went there, and within 24 hours, it was very clear I was not going to be able to do work from this place. I had to go to a co-working space the first day. It wasn't sustainable. So in that case, contacted Airbnb. They were amazing. They fully supported me. I got a full refund on the month, and they helped me find a place for my next location. So, especially if you're using these trusted tools and technologies, you're definitely going to get a lot of support. I think whether I'm traveling for a week or whether I'm traveling for months, things can go wrong when you leave your everyday environment where we can control everything so perfectly. So, yes, things could happen. Your flight could get delayed. You could lose your luggage. How do we make sure my most important things are in my carry-on? Now I do that after losing my luggage a couple times. So that is part of it, and you have to be okay with that. And if you're somebody that wants a life where nothing goes wrong, I
Hmm.
don't even know if that exists.
Good answer. Good answer. Ain't that the truth? The longer
With
you live, the more you know that's true.
new services
Mhm.
like Starlink, they have now like a travel with Starlink kind of thing where you can actually have mobile hardware kits.
Cool.
And as those prices come down, do you think that's going to be kind of that next, like we've had this black swan type of event where you have crises upon crises that either A, you stay in crisis, or like Winston Churchill says, you don't waste a good crisis. It creates opportunity, right? Do you think that having tools like mobility, interconnection is going to further the digital nomad growth?
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of digital nomads who really want to go off the grid, right? Who really have this vision of living on a farm, making my own food, being like true hippie vibes. And if you need to bring your laptop and work and you have to work consistently, internet connectivity is going to be your barrier. So, absolutely, I think that'll just create more opportunities. I feel limited a little bit where I can stay because how important work is for me. I can solve that. I know what type of questions to ask depending on the country. Do you have fiber optic? Things like that. But I can only see that improving things. Absolutely. How can we go
Hmm.
to even more remote locations? Like you said, there's the 54 countries that offer digital nomad visas. There's the digital nomad for people who are in a more unique experience and something more quote unquote authentic that's less touristy. Having internet anywhere will allow you to have more of that instead of right now we're congregating to a lot of the same places.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one gets hot and then everybody's there, right? So,
Totally. Like
yeah.
Is that
Lisbon
how
is
Costa Rica
affordable right
is?
now. Uh,
I've heard Costa Rica come up a lot, for places people move to. Is that like a hotspot right now or has been for a while?
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. Costa Rica is my favorite place of anywhere
Yeah.
I've been to.
Why is
It has
that?
so much to offer. I'm a huge nature and animal lover. They do a really great job at, despite tourism increasing, like having sustainability and environmental protection being so ingrained
Mm,
in them, and they don't compromise that. So it's a very beautiful, lush place, especially where I go. Jungle, wild animals, beautiful beaches, beautiful water, beautiful people, beautiful food. I'm vegan, so I love a lot of like fresh fruits and vegetables. So
mm.
it's definitely my vibe for sure.
Yeah, sounds amazing. One more thing, one more practical item that I think
Mhm.
maybe people are thinking about. So if I'm working from anywhere, what do I have to consider with taxes? I mean, I know you're not a tax expert, but
I
this
didn't
must
think
have
of
to
it.
come up a little bit for you, and you've had to figure this out. So what do we do with taxes? How does that work?
Mhm. It's so hard to answer. Are you both in Canada? I know Kim is in
Yes.
Calgary. Angela, are you too? So how it
Yes, I
works
am.
in Canada, as long as you are in the country for 6 months a year, you still get access to all of the health insurance and your
Right.
benefits, and you do your taxes here. So I'm pretty much here 6 months a year for the most part. Coming back for summer, I do a month over ski season, come home for Christmas, things like that. I'm very selective of when I'm back. And so that hasn't changed my lifestyle too much. In terms of a
Mm,
tax perspective, I do my taxes in Canada. I think that though there are better opportunities. Like I could be, if your goal is to not pay tax, right? Which I wouldn't say is my number one goal, but for a lot of people, it's like, how do I pay the least amount of taxes as possible? There's things like Estonia visas and
mm,
residencies where people are like giving up their residency and becoming residents of these other countries and doing their taxes there, paying less taxes. So, that's a whole other world that you can look into. But for the most part, if you're still in your home country for 6 months or more a year, you still do your taxes there. All of my clients are global. And so I just charge my hourly rate or my fixed monthly rate or whatever it is. And that's considered self employment income. And I just add that number at the end of the year
mm,
and I pay tax on that.
hmm.
No
Interesting.
T4s, nothing like that.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, this
Right.
will
I
be
think I knew that.
interesting with more of us doing global work and having clients around the world. It is going to be interesting because I know that I think it was Ireland that recently had a big court engagement with I think it was who is it that they were talking to? I think maybe it was Google and the revenue creation through ads and taxation returns to that country. I think it was Australia and Ireland were two countries that were looking at this and we're going, okay, with more and more people. So when you have countries looking at this, right? When they're, and I think Amazon was another one that they were looking at, right? When
Mm.
you have countries that are looking at this, then we know we have a global movement in this way. I have a question. Can I ask a question? So, I
Go
have a
ahead.
question. You earlier said, Sam, that you don't have a website or a kind of standard landing space for people. How do you make your brand, because we know that attrition rate's like 90 days for new clients, and so if I want to continue scaling my business, I'm constantly having to attract new business, not only serving my existing business but attracting new business. um how do you, like, what is it in your brand? How do you get your brand? How do you get notice in a really noisy digital world so you can continue scaling, so you can continue traveling? And
Mhm.
sorry, that's one of my
Yeah, good
biggest
question.
challenges, because I also take this, you're very both of you are under 50. Both of you are very comfortable within the digital world. Um, but there's a lot of women like myself who are 50 and over. Our kids are raised. We're out of here. We want to take back, and we have 30 years of expertise underneath us, and we could be great guides. but the online world and the whole branding thing is very overwhelming for us. Can you share with us a little bit of how you specifically tackle this in your business so you can track new business? Are you okay with that, Angela? I know I'm
Yeah, that's a
hijacking the
perfect
call.
question. No,
Okay.
no, I love that question. Yeah.
hmm I mean, I think it's going to be, I would provide probably different advice for different types of businesses. So, more when I say I don't have one specific website where it's like, okay, these are all the different things you can hire me for as a freelancer. Of course, I have LinkedIn and I have Instagram and I'm posting on there. With that said, my podcasting business, I do have specific landing pages for that. So, I'm a seller on Fiverr, which I highly, highly, highly recommend. Fiverr is a great marketplace to sell your services, especially for someone who isn't that great or comfortable with selling themselves, because Fiverr basically is a place where people are searching for your service. They see your profile, they see reviews about you, they see your costs, all that like kind of uncomfortable sales process for people gets done for you. They do take 20%. You wake up to orders in your inbox. So I've been a Fiverr Pro seller for I think 3 years. And that's been awesome for me. I probably acquire 6 new clients every single week just from that platform. Sometimes they just want a call or two. Sometimes I end up working with them for years. So definitely tapping into marketplaces if you're not like a digital marketer type person. If you're somebody who is more like me, who really likes building relationships, likes going to networking events, likes meeting new people, I think I've really harnessed that by always doing things like this, right? Like I'm appearing on people's podcasts, I'm reaching out to entrepreneurs, I'm always building those relationships and taking every opportunity seriously and taking every opportunity as this could be a huge chance. You never know who people know. And so always bringing your best foot forward and making building relationships a habit for you, I think has been really helpful for me. Absolutely. And then another thing, I think social media. What is your online presence where you're putting content out more regularly? Like you can have a website, but if no one's going to your website, what's the point? And so, what are you doing to actually drive traffic there or build awareness that you exist and what you care about? Things like podcasts are amazing. Things like social media are amazing. If you are not that comfortable with verbal communication, okay, can you start a blog? Can you start an email newsletter? I think every entrepreneur who's selling their service and getting people to trust them as an expert should have some type of content that they're putting out there that positions them as an authority on that topic and showcases like, hey, this is my style, this is what I know about, and ideally I'm really cool to work with. So that that's kind of my advice. hmm
Yeah. That's how you build a brand, a digital nomad brand from anywhere, right? Yeah, really practical advice there. So how you talked a little bit about working with clients. How do you work with clients? What can clients expect when they're working with you, and what kind of clients do you provide services to? Can you tell us a bit about that?
hmm I would say I run a couple different online businesses. So one is definitely in the podcasting space. So when I
Okay.
launched my podcast in 2017, I taught myself how to do it. I learned everything hands-on. I edited my own show, produced it, marketed it, did everything to, make it a popular show. And at that same time, I was really aware that podcasting was on the rise. People were wanting to launch podcasts. People thought it was really cool that I had a podcast. People desired that. And so I jumped on that opportunity. I started
Mm,
teaching in person workshops. Here's how to launch a podcast on a budget. They kept selling out. So I turned that into an online course. That started doing
mm,
well. So then I became a Fiverr Pro seller. Okay. Now you can have a one on one call with me and I can consult with you on launching a podcast. Well, then big companies came to me and said, well, that's all great, Sam, but could you execute that plan? So then I started hiring people and created an agency. And so that is one niche that just started small, that I kept testing, 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 kept getting great feedback, and I just added the revenue channels to it. So that's podcasting. And then something that's super fun is leveraging my personality as a podcast host and someone who is extroverted and is comfortable with public speaking. And so I offer hosting as a service. So hosting Zoom events, webinars for companies. One of my coolest gigs is for a fully remote company. 4 times a year, I travel with their team to destinations like
mm,
Bali, to Tulum, Cape Town in South Africa. We're going to Iceland in November, and I host their week long team gathering. And so, yeah, just that is another one. And motivational speaking. I got lots of different things going on.
Now I know why you don't have one website for everything. That's a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Mm,
also kind of my bias, right? Whereas if you're like, this is my expertise, I'm doubling down on
right.
that, sure, it makes sense for you to have a full portfolio and put all your energy into that.
Oh, I hadn't heard about hosting webinars as like that's a thing and
Hmm.
traveling with companies to do it. Oh, I'd love it.
Yeah.
I
It's
want to do
really
that. Sign me
Yeah, I
up.
could see you doing
I
that,
want to.
Kim. I could see you doing
I
that.
can do that. I can do that. I'll be the comic
Yeah.
relief for anybody. I leave the serious up to the pros and just have fun everywhere else. So
Right? I want the facts. Give me all the
yeah,
facts.
you're the facts.
Give me
Anybody?
all the good stuff.
Sam, have you ever watched Iron Man, the first one? Did you ever see Iron Man?
no.
I don't think I
No.
have
Did
either.
you see it? Okay.
No.
There's a scene in there, and Robert Downey Jr. is getting into a Hummer, and he says to I can't remember who the other lead on that was. The other lead comes up. It's this general. He's going to get into the Hummer, and he goes, "No, no, you're in the next one. This is the Funvee. You're in the Humvee." So everybody jump on the Funvee. Of course, now just so you know, unfortunately in that scene, the Funvee gets blown up, and that's how Robert Downey Jr. becomes Iron Man. Just saying. But I always think of that. I want to be on the Funvee. I want to have fun. I want to. Life is too short. Life is too short, and I
Right.
think a lot of, especially people under that 40 mark, watched their parents kill themselves to pay for
Yeah.
the bigger house and the fancier cars and to do this constant collection. And I know that there's a whole movement of less, right?
Yeah.
Do we really need 4,000 square feet? Or can we live as comfortably and as uh, engaging in 1,400 square feet? I mean, we're seeing this whole shift, and I love the fact that you came on, Sam, because you are living my dream life. You are living my dream life.
Mhm.
And this is what, and Angela knows this is a constant talk for me, that what you're sharing, and I'm 20 some odd years older than you, and I'm learning. So that's another thing I want everybody to take away from this. The reason you're listening to podcasts is it's educational, informational, and fun. It is the best way to learn, and that's why I do podcasts, and that's why I'm here. How do you raise tides for others? How do you what's your give back? Because I think that when we're working from a place of authenticity, there's always going to be a desire for a give back. I know Angela gives back with, coaching different sports for her kid, and she gives back through leading instructional classes and kickboxing. What is your give back?
Hmm. Well, for the person who values freedom and flexibility, that's why I always think about that person who knows this is a top value of mine, but I haven't fully figured out how to have a lifestyle that feels fully free and fully flexible because so much of our life is spent working. I really think giving back to that person as much as possible, why sharing my story and sharing stories of others has been kind of my calling a little bit for the last 7 years. So my podcast, Freedom Lifestyle, is free. It's available anywhere in the world at any time. And on there, not only do you hear my story and practical tips, but I also know that my journey isn't going to be the same for everybody's. I've realized that there's a ton of women right now that have their first baby and decide, I don't want to go back to work. Like, I want to be at home with my baby. I don't want my baby to having to be like having a nanny or having to go to school or preschool or having to be taken care of from somebody else. So my podcast, you can hear stories of all different type of what I call freedom seekers who had different types of motivations and different needs and different ways that they made it work for them. And so I think, yeah, definitely the podcast content that I put out there, the events similar to Angela that I speak at or offer my workshops to, I think are ways that I give back. And from like a social responsibility perspective, of course, there's charities that I really connect with. The World Wildlife Fund is a big one that I've been donating to monthly for years. And kind of how can if I can know how to make all this money, well, like now what? And figuring out how to have like donations as part of a strategy and that's something I'm thinking about. How do I add that to my story? You know, there's like the trifecta freedom, but it's like, so what? I figured out how to have it all. How can we now have a lot of meaning? And that's kind of a journey that I'm on too, is making it more meaningful as well.
Yeah, living more consciously, right? I think we all live
Mhm.
a lot on autopilot, and we've lost that conscious living.
Well, we work so hard
Yeah,
to get to this.
we
Like
do.
I worked so hard
We
to be
do.
able to work from anywhere and travel all these things. Then it's like, well, it's not great for the environment to be flying around. And then how is gentrification impacting communities and tourism impacting local people and all of these bigger challenges related with this privilege that it's kind of like an inconvenient truth, but it is the truth. And we work so hard to get here that you're like, oh no, but I just want to enjoy it. And it's like, well, you can enjoy it, but like, how can we be responsible citizens
Mhm.
while enjoying this privilege that we've built for ourselves? And of course, a lot of it was given to me based on my circumstances.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And hitting on the other part that you talked about, the mom who wants to stay at home and things like that. Sometimes just seeing what has been possible for somebody else is motivation enough to just light that spark to just be able to take that first step, right? I know it is for me. Just to know that somebody out there did this and did this successfully. It's like, okay, well that there's an opportunity
Yep.
there like that I didn't realize was possible right before. So
Hmm.
that's
What
great.
you see, you believe for sure.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and as a type A myself who likes like I plan everything. I have spreadsheets for when we go camping and, and this is me, right? As a type A, I'm taking some inspiration from what you said. Any ordeal can become an adventure and you just have to think about it like that. If you don't roll with the punches, you'll break, right? It's like literally I know this from being a kickboxer for so many years. If you don't know how to duck and weave and roll with it, you're gonna break in that scenario. So
So we have up on screen what'syourfree.com. I love that. What'syourfree.com. And join Sam over on our Instagram. Just check her out there, and we'll have contacts in the show notes. Quick question for you though. I love to dip my toe in the water. CTA, call to action. What do you have, or where can we go? Is there anything that if we wanted to find out more or connect with you, if there's any kind of freebie or anything like that, what do you got that we can just get to know you a little bit better or learn from you?
I would say the Freedom Lifestyle podcast. Yeah, going back to even episode one and hearing my journey, like when I started in 2017, I really started my podcast because I hoped if I interviewed people, I would figure it out myself. I was very selfish
Mhm.
at the beginning. I wanted the freedom lifestyle, but I didn't have it yet. So those first 5, 10 episodes, I'm like being an investigative journalist. How is this possible? Interviewing different people that I'd heard about that I admired. And on the journey, I start having it myself. And so I think that's like a really great place to understand my story and see how possible it is for you and the humble beginnings that I started with of being unemployed and just wanting to be with my boyfriend in San Francisco to, having this dream lifestyle that I'm really every year I'm starting from scratch. What do I want to do this year? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be with? And work fits into that versus the opposite. So definitely my podcast a plug. But other resources I love for people who are new to this, the 5 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss is over 10 years old. It is still so relevant. And it is such a great place to start thinking about what's possible. And he has a lot of practical tips about, here's what you say to get them to say yes. And here's some different revenue streams for you. So I would also check out his original book.
Yeah, lots of
Awesome.
practical stuff. I haven't read that one yet, but I've heard lots about it, so
So
definitely
good.
need to check it out now. Yeah, and along with your podcast, I love that you learned along the way and you kinda shared the journey. That's super helpful for people, I think.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I know what I'm listening to this weekend. I know
Yeah.
what I'm Yes,
Binging.
absolutely. Binging those first 10 because I'm not sitting here in January. I will not be in
Right?
Calgary. You
Come to
know,
Costa Rica. I've got my bike there already.
Oh
Let's
my
go.
gosh.
awesome, awesome, awesome. And Angela's smart. She can just homeschool her kid. Let's go. Let's go. We're out of here.
My kid doesn't listen to me. I don't think so. I don't think it would do well, but anyway,
All right.
we'd
You
make
know
it work.
what? Sam, I really, really appreciate your time. I really do. Thank you.
Yes. Yes.
I
thank you.
appreciate you two allowing me to come on here. You're great natural hosts. I'm so excited for the launch of this podcast. Please keep me in the loop. I'll share it wildly. This is my first live stream in a long time, but I think we did okay. I don't think,
Yeah.
I'm not going to get canceled.
No. There was no naked people walking in the background or anything like that showing up
Just
on
a
camera.
cat.
What kind of cat
Yeah.
is that? Before you go, tell us what kind of cat.
This is a Bengal, Bagheera.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
well.
I've
I
got
saw the
those.
round spots, and I knew it wasn't
Yeah.
like, the farm cat. So,
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, thanks,
But farm
Sam.
cats are cute too.
Yeah. Thanks
Alrighty.
for all
You're
your
welcome.
tips
Thank
and
you.
tricks. Super helpful stuff. And check Sam out online. And we'll be joining you next week.
Yeah, I'll be listening to the Freedom Lifestyle this weekend. What are you guys listening
too.
to? Until next time, thank you, Sam. Bye, Angela. Bye. So here we go.